What's your take been on, I was with you on the night, of course, and that was a very sad evening indeed. As we've moved on now, we're beginning to look ahead as well as recognise the enormous contribution this late Queen made. As we look ahead to King Charles III, are you as encouraged as I am, and I think Arthur is, by the start he's made?
Completely, Piers. It's as though he's grown a foot taller in strength, in confidence, and I think he's drawing strength and reassurance from his subjects, and actually we, his subjects, are also drawing comfort and reassurance from his strength and for how he's conducting himself, for the way that this is just seamlessly transitioning from the late Queen, from all of her extraordinary achievements. But actually, I really do think this is going to give the whole nation real confidence. I draw huge strength from it, much more than I think any of us could possibly have expected.
Ava, do you see yourself as a subject? Do people your age even like the idea of being anyone's subject? And is that an issue for the future of the monarchy?
I think it's a difficult question at the moment in this 10-day period of mourning because, I mean, look, it's a subject steeped in history, which I think is fascinating, and I think that a lot of people can have massive appreciation for. But, you know, I don't think that we also need to feel as subjects. I think it's perfectly OK to be quite sad about the Queen and to appreciate her legacy, but also say, do you know, there's quite a few things around the monarchy that I don't really appreciate. And
like what, in your case?
Well, today, for example, I didn't really appreciate police officers using the 2022 police bill to drag protesters off the streets and say that we weren't allowed to object to the monarchy.
No, I mean, I didn't
appreciate that.
I didn't like what they were saying, but I absolutely defend their right to protest.
Correct.
And there are a body of people in this country who will agree with some of these protests. Let's take a look at some of the protests today.
Disgusting! Wait, I've done nothing wrong.
Now, you see, it's interesting, that particular incident, because I think it's completely disrespectful to have done that anywhere near the Queen's hearse, obviously. However, I also thought it was a big risk by the royal family to let Prince Andrew, after all that's gone on with him in the last year, walk through the streets in that way. Now, they would say, and I understand this, he was a beloved son of the Queen, and she would famously described him to people sometimes apparently as her favoured son. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but that was what was reported. But notwithstanding that, it's only a few months ago that he paid off a woman who'd accused him of sexually abusing her millions and millions of dollars, having said he'd go to court and clear his name. Is it irrational for some people to think this is completely inappropriate?
Well, I mean, he didn't pay. Let's be clear about that. We paid. We, the taxpayer, paid that. And, you know, I would say that it was disrespectful to her and her legacy, and actually to the people who love the Queen, for him to walk behind the carriage. I thought that was really disrespectful, actually. You know, I think it's really...
I'm sorry. He is a grieving son for his mother. I think it's mean-spirited. I think it's heartless. Frankly, you know, we, a nation, are grieving, but they are a family.
Yep.
A family in grief. But I think his siblings would have wanted him there.
OK, but in any other situation, would a family walk through the entire nation to pay their respects? So they don't need to be there for the entire funeral.
This is the royal family. This is, you know, and yes, but that, I think, is a sign of the openness and the transparency with which Charles is going to govern in the future. If we're going to be open and transparent,
we could talk about the fact that a lot of people have had to cancel the funerals for their own mothers because of the Queen and in respect and homage to the Queen. And there are a lot of people at the moment who are actually having to rent coffins because they can't afford to buy them. So if we're going to talk about respect, we should talk about it across the board, and we should have a little bit of nuance.
Well, I think that actually it's about people's love and appreciation and devotion to our monarch,
the Queen.
to the Queen,
Arthur,
the late Queen,
Arthur,
for 70 years.
What is your view of this Andrew situation?
Well,
because
Andrew.
I mean, I didn't like, for example, that he wore his military uniform for the vigil. Apparently, it's the only part of the entire week where he'll wear a military uniform. But if you're in one of the regiments that he did represent, I know there's a lot of ill feeling towards him from members of those regiments, that he still seems like he's representing them after what he did. Now, What do you think?
Well, look, I was there in Portsmouth when he came back after the Falklands War, and we were cheering him. And we laid his life on the line for this country. I've worked with him for years, and I really like him. And he's made a big mistake in his life, which was giving that interview to Emily Maitlis. I don't care what you say. I mean, if he'd have said to her, I did do that, I was lonely, it was a mistake, and I apologise, it would have none of this trouble. But the fact that he lied was the mistake. Now,
Well, hang on, Arthur. That may not be the only...
Well,
hang on, I just want to finish this.
Yeah, but my point is that may not be the only mistake he made. I mean, let's be clear. He paid a woman to avoid having his supposed day in court. He paid her millions of dollars. It may be that he was guilty of what she accused him of. Otherwise, why are you paying someone millions of dollars? We don't know that, and we're never going to find out now. But it may not have been his only mistake to do that interview.
Well, OK, fine, all right, but it was highlighted he made a mistake in his life. We've all made mistakes in our life. We'd hate to be highlighted. Every one of us, you, me, this young
I've
lady
never,
there.
ever had to pay 12
We haven't
No,
all
we
paid
wouldn't have to
millions
do
of
that
dollars
because you're
to
not a
someone.
prince of the realm, that's
Potential
why.
mistake.
And the fact is that, you know, I think he should be walking behind his mother's
Do you?
coffin. I think he should, if he... Of course I do. I mean, he's grieving, he's broken-hearted.
Should people who are angry about it be treated in the way that protester
I don't
was?
think people should be allowed to sort of disrupt that comment. It was the Queen.
Sorry, I thought you were going to go on the other side of it.
No, I don't.
But you-
No. I you know, I agree with Piers. You have a right to say it, but there are times when you don't do it. And
Well, I think it's wrong. I think it's inappropriate
It's
to do it in the way they
inappropriate,
did it.
yeah, that's
but I
right.
don't think they should start being hauled away, manhandled, or arrested.
Arrested
as some
is
of them
really
have been.
frightening,
I mean, are we really living in a country where people get arrested for exercising their right to free speech to protest
Well, I
about a
saw
monarchy,
that.
for
I
example?
saw
And
that
that's,
tonight.
it's a fine balance judgment. But look, the reality is, you know, this is a democracy. And in a sense, I think they've got the right to grieve as a family. It's not Prince Andrew's choice. You know, he's got a
But
right to grieve with his
you can't
family.
argue that they fought for our freedom, or, you know,
And
our
he fought for his
democracy has
country a
fought
long
for our
time
freedom.
ago.
You can't argue that he fought for our freedom, and then when someone says something you don't particularly like, arrest them.